Hello and welcome to Chapter 4, Prompt Engineering. Now in this chapter we're going to cover a few different topics. We're going to start by looking at why prompt phrasing matters. We're going to cover a framework you can use when utilizing prompts in a large language model, that being the rules framework. We're then going to cover some common mistakes that we see users make when using prompts in their large language models. We're then going to take this lesson and make it very practical by looking at prompts that you can start using today. And we're going to wrap up with a hands-on exercise that you can tackle right away to hone in your prompt engineering skills. So with that, why does prompt phrasing matter? Well, there's a few different reasons. The first being that large language models predict. So clear prompts lead to better signals for the large language model to process, ultimately resulting in higher accuracy in the responses that you get. They generate responses based upon patterns in language, not their direct understanding. Ultimately, they predict the next words they don't know. And with that, vague prompts are going to lead to weak signals for the model, ultimately increasing the chance of, generic or even worse, just incorrect outputs. So clear wording is going to help the model predict the right kind of answer, not just any answer. So precision in your phrasing really matters and reduces the guesswork for the model and ultimately improves consistency in the responses that you'll get from your large language model. The next piece is really critical, focusing on quality over quantity. So being specific is going to reduce any ambiguity and improve the results that you get from your model. Longer prompts are not necessarily better. In fact, they're going to use more tokens and more usage of the model and not necessarily lead to better outcomes. So clearer instructions are much more important. Make sure you're using specific constraints such as format, tone, and length of the answers that you're looking for to remove any ambiguity. And we're going to touch on more of those components shortly when we look at the rules framework. Don't forget that well-defined inputs will lead to repeatable, more predictable outcomes. And that ultimately, if you have just one precise sentence, that is often going to outperform, much larger paragraphs of vague instructions. Bottom line, context wins. By combining context, constraints, and providing those clear instructions, you're going to get better outcomes when working with these large language models. Make sure that you're setting the right role within finance and treasury. Having the model act as a CFO and using a tone of a CFO is going to align the response that you get with what you need to help frame decisions through that persona. By providing constraints such as give me 5 bullet points, do not include any jargon, it's going to help really shape the structure of the response and make sure it's clear and exactly what you're looking for. You can create focus for the model by calling out, clear tasks such as summarize, compare, if you have multiple pieces of text you're referencing, or explain this. Making sure that prompt is clear is going to give you the outcomes that you need. Bottom line, context tells the model what matters and what doesn't. And don't forget, good prompts are refined. They're not just written once. In other words, as you're going to see, iteration is a huge part of the process. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into ChatGPT. We're going to look at a practical example of how a quality prompt impacts the output that we receive.